All right. Well. Let's take a gander at the market here. Couple of trades that I'm kind of eyeballing here this morning. There we go. Seeing some quite a bit of dollar strength here this morning. Kind of torn between one of two here. As far as consolidation breaks go, much like the other day, and I'm not doing this just because of the this was one that worked for us on Wednesday. But I'm liking the fact that you see everything kind of coming into play here. Dollar Swiss is starting to break out here to the upside. European currencies yesterday went absolutely nuts. In fact, absolutely nuts as we watched it. Looking at yesterday, you see this was the ECB interest rate announcement, and right when the ECB announcement came out and Draghi started talking, you saw a big appreciation, meaning Swiss strength, Euro strength, pound strength. When he came out and did his press conference, we were waiting for a reversal, but we were waiting for a little bit more confirmation on it. And this that we watched as this big green candlestick formed right in through here. And now we're getting further breakouts of dollar strength to the upside here. I like this one, and because I think that the 9,800 level should be no problem being surpassed here on the dollar Swiss, and we could put up a very small amount of risk on this. So much like the trade from Wednesday, I like the fact that there's so much buying pressure right down in here. You see the tails, the shadows on these candles, that it's breaking out above the high. It just now went to a +5 here on the dollar Swiss as it's breaking into a high. If we wanted to be more conservative, we could probably wait for this to breach this high. I don't think that's necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and buy 1 micro on the dollar Swiss. I'm going to put a small amount of risk on here because I'm only going to put my stop right below this swing low, which almost coincides with a trend line. So here, I'll bring this up for you real quick. Let's see here. Trade manager. If I had to kind of guesstimate the market today, I'd rather err to the side of dollar strength. I mean, I think yesterday was very telling in the fact that there wasn't a huge amount that was fundamental about the move down on the dollar, meaning it was more of a technical play. So the stop loss here, I'm going to put right below this swing low. Let's see here, 0.9745. I'm going to put it 0.97457 right below this swing low. So that's going to be risk of 29 pips. And then we'll call it, you could almost call it just 30 pips. Let's go with an even number here. We'll go 447, just go 30 pips. And for right now, I'm going to put my stop at a 1 to 1.5 risk reward. I'll put it 45 pips away, which would put it at 9.98247. I'm sorry, 45 pips away would be 297. And like I said, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, I like the fact that the dollar's kind of breaking out here. You can wait for a close above this high. That's oftentimes when we're being a little bit more conservative of what we'll look for. But the risk is not that much when we're looking at 30 pips. I got stopped out at break even on a pound dollar trade we had from yesterday, and then on New Zealand, actually I made probably I think it was like 3 or 4 pips on a pound dollar trade from yesterday. It was right at break even, and then I made 50 pips on New Zealand yen yesterday. So I'm willing to kind of be a little bit more aggressive here this morning. and go long on this dollar Swiss. The other option is the euro dollar. And if we were to kind of switch gears here over to the euro dollar, I think you'd see that, you know, the euro dollar starting to break down also. See, the euro dollar had been consolidated. It really found a huge amount of support right around these lows. And then here was our breakout from early this morning, kind of broke down below these lows during the London session or during the London Open. And everything's kind of pointing downwards for these European currencies. The LP trend line's pointing down. So I'm willing to, it's been an actual, you know, it's been pretty good as far as a trading week goes. So I'm willing to give back 30 pips, and I'm only doing a one lotter. You know, if I'm wrong, but I'm willing to take a little bit of risk here this morning and trade into that breakout. There's another one that I was looking at here as far as options go in the market today. We'll talk about a little bit more about the moves here, but right in here on the pound. Actually, let me talk about the trade from yesterday just a little bit. You know, when this pound broke down right in through here, we had seen this big long candle come down here on the pound. At the time, it was +5. It went negative, but we weren't really looking at it from a PitView standpoint. We were actually looking at this when it broke down off the 4,400 level. We got in, and it was really sideways. So what I told everyone is, you know, look for that 3-bar reversal. Our entry was right down in here, and you can see all this consolidation in here, inside bar, inside bar, inside bar. We finally got a breakdown here where we had an outside bar, another outside bar, another outside bar. So our 3-bar reversal was put right up above this high, which was right below break even. So I got stopped out on that for an even trade. But one thing I like here on the pound this morning is the fact that and this is another one to where I think you can look for, it started to come down here on the LP trend line. It started to make a close right down in here. And it came right back down to kind of retest that support level. It's kind of making some higher highs here, but it's a nice little retracement. It's already come up and hit the high right up in here. It's already kind of come up and hit that 78.6% retracement level. The pound is not as correlated to those European currencies as one might think. Like right now, the pound's been getting stronger, and those European currencies have all been getting weaker, meaning the euro and the Swiss. So another option here would be to, and this would be one that you'd have to wait on, but to look for a sell entry on the pound dollar. It's already hit 78.6, so we'd be looking for a close beneath the 4,400 level. But we'd also want to see things turn here. It's already at a +5. All you'd really want to see is the 1 hour total to go negative if you're using it on the PitView. It's already at +5. It's coming up and making a retracement. Generally on those retracements, you have to look at them as being a little bit more aggressive. You're often going to see some buy imbalances in there, but if you see that, you can see there's a large buy imbalance on the pound here. But if you do start to see it go negative, if it starts to go to that red area and it closes below the 4,400 level, I think that's a good entry point. Putting your stop right above this swing high right up in here would be a nice stop order. Certainly be at a place where you'd be wrong on the trade. So the stop on there would be, let's see, where's that high at? 1.44, let's say 420. Or you can even go 50 max, depending on how far below it goes below that 4,400 level. And this one, since it's a Friday, just take a limit. I don't mind looking for a higher limit on the dollar Swiss just because it's been a little bit more consolidated than the other currencies. But on this pound dollar, since we have a kind of a full day of trading on the dollar Swiss, but on pound dollar, I would look more towards a limit of 1-to-1 risk reward. Now the concerns here are the fact that it is making higher highs on the LP trend line, but you can see, it would be a lower high if it does stop here at this 78.6% retracement level. It's not odd to see the buying pressure, follow the trend. Ideally, you'd want more of a divergence, but this would be a pretty nice trade at 10 o'clock. You'd want to be waiting. This isn't one where we've already been aggressive on dollar Swiss. On the pound, you'd want to wait. You'd want to wait until 10 o'clock. You'd want to see that close off that 78.6 level, and you'd want to see it close down below that 4,400 level. And hopefully that wouldn't be one where we'd have to sit there and watch it go down tenfold or whatever it was yesterday. We just sat there and watched all those European. We were being a little bit more conservative yesterday, looking for closes, and we just sat there and watched after the ECB announcement. Global markets are mixed today. Dow futures right now are down. So oil, it was down, but then it came right back up. Here, let me kind of take you for a spin around the markets right now. Dow futures are down slightly. European markets are down slightly, not by much. FTSE's down 1%. That's a little concerning, but it's a London Stock Exchange. Financial Times Stock Exchange is what FTSE stands for. And then, you see the Asian markets mixed. We got a bump up in China. Nikkei has been going strong, up 1%. That's led to actually quite a bit of yen appreciation. Hong Kong down like 0.72%. So you see that it's a little mixed right in through there as far as the Asian markets. You got Brent crude's up 0.5%. Sorry, I may have miswrote that. I could have sworn I saw that being down like 1% at one point. And then, yeah, crude's up just slightly by about 0.5%. There was some news this morning also. You got a lot of those flash PMI numbers coming out from manufacturing services across Europe. I think one of the main drivers of European currencies yesterday was the fact that, people kind of covered short positions, which caused an appreciation in the euro and Swiss and all those European currencies. And then Super Mario, true to form, was absolutely dovish when it came to the European economy. I don't know if that's the reason that it got brought down, because it just came down so hard yesterday after that euro appreciation came into play. We did have the CAD come in here. Their core CPI number, their consumer price index, actually came out very well at 0.7% versus 0.4% as an expectation. If you're wondering what the core and their month to month, including some of the more volatile underlines that they take out for the core, is at 0.6. And the retail sales numbers, both the core and regular retail sales, came out much better than expected, positive 0.2, positive 0.4. And they actually adjusted the core retail sales number up to 1.3. That's actually very good. So that's really the only major news today. We don't really have any news to stop us out of trades here today. Looking at the market in general, kind of what we've seen here is after the Canadian news came out, we had a little drop here on the dollar Canadian, and that's been one of the only ones that's gone against the dollar here this morning, that and the pound. Here, let's switch this back over to the euro. Looking at some of the European currencies, we've seen a little bit more dollar appreciation. That's one of the reasons why we're kind of taking that chance on the Swiss for dollar appreciation. For those just joining us, we're currently long on the dollar Swiss. We're down, I think, about 15 pips right now. We're risking 30. Sometimes I'm a little bit more conservative. A lot of times I am, to where I may wait for a close on that. In this case, I was actually a little bit more aggressive this morning. We usually like to wait for a close if we're being more conservative, but basically the trade here was breaking through this high. Euro dollar at the same time was breaking through a low, so we went ahead and did a buy entry at the market. Or if you're just joining us, if you want to wait for a close above that high, it went negative on the 1 hour totals. It was +5 on the 1 hour totals. So obviously if you're not in that yet, you probably want to wait a little bit. Had a pretty big fluctuation there on those 1 hour totals. It was +5, now it's -0.5. So that's a little disconcerting. But our stop we have right down in here below the swing low. I think when you look at these higher highs and higher lows here, that we can look for potential for further depreciation in these European currencies. And then for a limit, initial limit we have in here is for a 1-to-1 risk reward. I'm sorry, 1 to 1.5. This is another one that, since it's a Friday, if we do start to get some profits in this, manage your risk wisely. I would say once you get to a 1-to-1, at the very least, you'd want to be moving your stop to break even and trailing that thing up with that 3-bar reversal as we go throughout the day. And when it gets to be like 5 o'clock, if you have any profits or losses in it, I would go ahead and close that out at the end of the day. So close by 5 p.m. Eastern on that. I wouldn't hold that one over the weekend. We've been seeing some gaps occur. We saw a gap occur last weekend because of the OPEC meeting in, what was it, Doha, in Brouhaha. So and I think I forgot to put that. I forgot to put that pound on there. Let me pull this pound back up so I can copy and paste that to the trading sheet here today. There we go. And these are both dollar strength trades. I'm kind of erring to the side of dollar strength today. I mean, just based on what happened yesterday, it kind of gives us a little bit of evidence that technically the dollar might be a little stronger here. But retracements on the pound. There we go. Yen is very weak. That's what we'll look at next. We'll look at some of the yen crosses, because the yen is extremely weak. It's making a lot of headway this morning. You're seeing a lot of appreciation in like dollar yen. And that may be enough to, and dollar yen, by the way, I mean, has plenty of room to go. I mean, that thing's, look at the kind of overall reversal here that we're seeing on dollar yen. It has plenty of room to go before it hits really any solid resistance here at the 112 level. Dollar yen's another one that, the breakouts kind of occurred there. My thought process being that, dollar Swiss, dollar yen, euro dollar could give in to some dollar strength today. I was thinking that dollar strength could come into play. So we are getting some yen appreciation. The trade we were looking at yesterday should be looking pretty good right now, because I don't think that New Zealand is really depreciating by much. Yeah, right here on New Zealand, we had a nice little we were going from this swing low and we saw this little nice ABC correction occur. Some of you got in here to where you probably reached a max profit on this touch and close off the 78.6. I got in when it came up above this high, and I actually put my stop right below this low, and just barely by the hair of my chinny chin caught a 1-to-1 risk reward overnight on this New Zealand yen. this might still have some legs to it. I would rather look for, you know, on these yen pairs, since we are getting some appreciation on them. If you know, some of this might come into play with some risk on, risk off scenarios here during the day. But you can kind of see the yen pairs are all kind of making some solid breakouts right in through here. Like here's Aussie yen. You can see that it's starting to break through a high right in through here, breaking up above. This is all being really driven by yen weakness. And then on CAD yen, we'll switch gears and just look at all these. CAD yen's made some solid appreciation. We kind of took this off the books yesterday afternoon, but if you were still looking for that breakout on CAD yen yesterday, you had a solid chance right in through here to get in on CAD yen. It was already long New Zealand yen, so I mean, I was still able to capture some profits. But this one went with the Canadian news and the appreciation or depreciation in the yen. That really caused a huge move to the upside on CAD yen. So that's broken out. I think that's a little overextended right now. But pretty much any of the yen pairs, including dollar yen, I think also have, you know, quite a bit of legs to them here this morning. Let's take a look at dollar yen just on this. Switch gears over here. You can see it came down off these lows, and then here's the 111 level right up in here that it's just now kind of broken up above. So there's 111. You can see the yen's broken up, and it has plenty of room to go before it reaches up to before it gets up to like the 112 level. Right in through here. So here's 112, where we had, if you zoom out, you can kind of see that's where we had some support right in through here, and that's where it broke down. That support actually broke down, and that would turn us into that would turn it into new resistance there on dollar yen, and everything's really pointing to the upside here on dollar yen. This one made that close above the 111 level. You know, I went going long on the dollar Swiss or short euro dollar or long dollar yen. Those were kind of the three different, or any of the yen crosses were kind of three of the different scenarios that I was looking for here at the start of class today. I went dollar Swiss just because it was dollar Swiss was showing that +5 on the 1 hour totals, even though yen was closing above the 111 level. My thought process being that, you know, that overall current of dollar strength could kind of bring all these currencies back to the bring them all up, meaning bring dollar yen up, bring dollar Swiss up, bring euro dollar down, because those three have really been the ones giving in to more dollar strength here. And of course, dollar Swiss is not a loser yet. I mean, we're down about 9 pips right now, but you know, this is not that bad of a play when it comes to these yen crosses or the yen itself. I would think that if you wanted to give yourself kind of a shot here at you know, trading this yen weakness, you know, you have a couple of options here. You can, I mean, technically this is giving a signal right now to where you could put your stop. You know, you probably want to put your stop right below this breakout, because you'd want to put it right below the 111 level. And you have the potential here to where you could really risk like 50 pips to see if you can make 50 pips right below that 112 level. If the yen goes up and challenges that 112 level, you certainly have some opportunities and room to go for it to get there. I mean, it's kind of in no man's land right now. There's not really a whole lot of resistance until you get up to that 112 level. So as an alternative, I think I would call it more of an alternative to the dollar Swiss position. If you're already long dollar Swiss, I think any further appreciation that would drive dollar yen up, I think it would also drive dollar Swiss up. The only reason I didn't go with dollar yen was because of the fact that, you know, it wasn't at that +5. I mean, there was we saw that big +5 there, raining green on the dollar Swiss. So it's one of the reasons why I went that instead of dollar yen. And I didn't start the class off with any type of cross currency play on that, just because I already took a profit off about 3 or 4 hours ago on New Zealand yen. So I think on the yen, I'm not going to put on the trading sheet, but then, if you're not long dollar Swiss, this is another opportunity to where, if you wanted to buy it, you have plenty of room to go. Just because I'm not putting it in doesn't mean that I don't think it's a strong position. I can give you a couple of yen scenarios here. Stop, 50 max, or you can put it 1 pip below this swing low. It'd be pretty tight. That swing low would be 1.11. I'm sorry, 110.731, which would be a little bit more than 50 pips. But I wouldn't be in both the dollar yen and dollar Swiss positions right now. I'd kind of pick either one or the other. And you could look for a limit here, 1-to-1 risk reward. Stock markets are just now starting to open, and they're really mixed here in the U.S. There's not a whole lot of built up volatility in the market here this morning. We're just now getting the opening bell. Volatility tends to be something that kind of spreads between currency pairs and the underlying higher yielding assets like the stock markets. So, or I'm going to put this and while we're here, let's see what that pound's doing. Pound's starting to come off just a bit off that 4,400 level, but it's still staying strong there on the PitView indicators. I wouldn't put too many positions in here today. Don't want to go too crazy. We can start to see that, well, CAD already broke down because it was breaking down anyway because of the news. We're starting to see some commodity appreciation in here. So we're starting to see, New Zealand come up. We're starting to see Aussie start to come up. If I had to kind of make a play on one of the cross pairs here today, since I already went in and captured some profit off New Zealand yen, Aussie yen, the fact that it's breaking out higher would probably be the way to go. We've already got the dollar yen breaking out. If you wanted to go to more of a cross type of scenario, I think Aussie yen would probably be the better play on it. CAD yen's already kind of made a larger move. Let's see here, I'm getting a little bit of a, there we go. That was actually whenever you pull up these yen pairs, you sometimes get a little bit of a, you can see this one's another one that's making some appreciation here on the LP trend line. It's breaking through a key resistance level, much like dollar yen is. Aussie's starting to make some appreciation, which we appreciate. So this would be another one that could be an alternative. I'd probably, if we're doing Aussie yen, again, it's another pretty, it's a good scenario. Whoops. I would wait for it to close above resistance, and I would wait for a +5 on those 1 hour totals because it's already gone +5. It hasn't really gone negative yet. I would wait for it to wait for the liquidity providers to kind of confirm that, and then stop. 50 max. So that's one you'd probably want to wait on. Give it a little bit of time. Then on Aussie yen, since we're looking at 40, 50 pips on this, I mean, we'd be looking for a limit of 1-to-1 risk reward. The only reason why we went a little bit more on the dollar Swiss is because, you know, if we're going to need it to break through that 7,800 anyway for, you know, basically a 1-to-1 risk reward, you know, asking it to move, you know, 45 to the upside is not totally outside the bounds or the normal range of movement that the dollar Swiss can make. So that one has a little bit more room to go to it since it was so consolidated overnight. Now, as you can see, I'm not putting anything in here for dollar weakness. I'm going full on. Either we're going to go dollar neutral, cross pair opportunity, which we don't even really have to change anything on this. There was that bullish Gartley I was talking about. On Wednesday. The dollar yen would be considered a dollar strength position, and that's just I just want to be clear that I look at that dollar yen as being more of an alternative to dollar Swiss. Like if you're a little hesitant on dollar Swiss, sometimes when we get into a trade and it goes negative, people are like, oh, this is a losing trade. It's not a losing trade till we get stopped out. You don't fall down the elevator shaft until it's proven that there's no elevator when you walk into it. You know how I always say sometimes we get the elevator, sometimes we get the shaft? Yeah. We haven't gotten the shaft yet. Still a working order. Don't get too spoiled off the dollar Swiss from last week. If you're already long dollar yen, then, you know, whenever, especially on Fridays, that's a great question because Phil asks, if I'm already a long dollar yen, should I look to take any other trades? Well, I would kind of take out the Aussie yen out of the equation. I would take dollar Swiss out of the equation. You could look for pound dollar because obviously the pound dollar is going to have to show us a little bit of confirmation to get. And the pound dollar does not, as you've seen in the past, Phil, we've seen the pound dollar doesn't necessarily correlate as highly to those European currencies. So, I mean, if you're going to look for one other trade, if you're already long dollar yen, I would probably look to pound dollar. That would be the only one I would consider just because the pound hasn't been as highly correlated. It's been kind of off on a world all its own as of late. So dollar yen, I think, cancels out dollar Swiss. If you chose dollar yen instead of dollar Swiss, I think that dollar yen cancels out dollar Swiss. I think it would also cancel out Aussie yen. So if you're already long dollar Swiss, I think, you know, you can still look to potentially that Aussie yen trade or the pound dollar trade. But dollar yen is kind of I think that one is one to where you'd want to look more towards maybe just taking all the dollar positions and the yen positions out of the equation, except for maybe pound dollar. I mean, pound dollar, I still think that one looks like a nice little retracement in there. That short, yeah, the short on the pound. Because as you can see, I'm not looking at anything that really has any type of, I'm not really looking for anything that has any type of dollar weakness built into it. You can see pound is starting to make that close beneath that 4,400 level. I'd still look for this to go negative on those 1 hour totals. I mean, it's not going negative yet. And if it's too far away, if you want to limit your risk, you can always put your stop right up above this swing high. I mean, that could also be an option instead of putting it, you know, at that 50 max. If you wanted to limit your risk a little bit more. But it's a little disconcerting when you see there's so many bids being put in there. You know, that means that bids are changing. So there's still some buying pressure there on the pound. You'd like to see that sucker go negative. So here, I'll walk you kind of through this real quick, because these are, I don't want to really end on a negative note this week. So oil up slightly. CAD retail sales and CPI higher than expected. That was good for CAD. And we're still looking to trade strength on the US dollar. And if we are going to go outside the US dollar, we're going to look to Aussie yen for a potential cross opportunity. CAD yen would have been a good candidate, but it's just been so overblown. It's already kind of moved so much that I don't want to screw around with that one this morning. So walking down through here. So here's Aussie yen. If you're long dollar yen, ignore this one, because being long 2 yen pairs is probably not what you want to do. If you're long dollar Swiss, this is still in play, in my opinion, my humble opinion. You don't want to short too much yen. We've all seen the yen act as a driving currency. So if that Aussie yen, in order to gain any type of appreciation, there's a good chance that it might have to, that the yen would be the one driving that. So you do get the benefit of potentially, getting a reversal on, like the Aussie dollar that could help, bring Aussie yen up. But, right now what's driving those yen crosses is dollar yen. So, and if you're already long, if you're long dollar Swiss, ignore this one. And on pound dollar, this is, I would say that's still in play no matter what, because pound dollar has a mind all its own. Let's see, we're risking 30 pips on this. So 48,047. You're absolutely right. Tom just made me realize something. Take profit. I need to bring that down by 10 pips, don't I? I think my math was wrong. Yeah, it would be risking 30 to make 45. So 45 would be 98047 plus 15. Yeah, it would be 98197. So I've changed that. Good call, Tom. Thank you for saving me from my horrible math skills once again. All right. And if you're a bit hesitant on any of these, remember, I mean, if you've had a good, remember our Friday quotes is if you don't want to be too aggressive on a Friday, there's never anything wrong with putting the close sign on the door. So, I mean, you can always, put the close sign up on the trading business and just walk away today. So, I mean, that's the other option. Generally Fridays are the days where like on this dollar Swiss trade, I'm willing to give because I made another 50 pips because we had a good day on Wednesday, with getting that nice trade on dollar Swiss. I've actually, I'm up, I believe, a total of, I think, 60 pips. Even with pound yesterday, I was at break even, or I've made a couple of pips past break even. So I'm willing to give 30 pips back to the market, but otherwise I'm being a little bit more cautious. Fridays are never the day where you want a positive trading week to turn into a negative one. So you want to, Friday trading for me is always about capital preservation. Willing to give 30 back to the market, that would still keep me net positive for the week, but you don't want to get too overly aggressive on Fridays because, we should actually just call Fridays what they are, and Fridays are generally what we call capital preservation. So we don't want to go too crazy. Delete some of these objects off the chart, just so I can get a clear view of what's all going on here. So let's take a gander at the market. So now, oh wow, we're getting a big sell-off in stocks here. We're a bigger sell-off than I was anticipating as far as. No, it's still mixed. I'm sorry. We have the Dow's up 42 and the Nasdaq's like down 30. There must have been some earnings that came out for some of the Nasdaq stocks, and the S&P's. So the Dow's up 40, Nasdaq's down 30. Must be a big component of the Nasdaq that's bringing that up, and the S&P's up 1. So now we essentially have a very much a mixed market open here this morning here in the U.S. Yeah, Nasdaq's down 29. I'm assuming that one of the big boys must be down quite a bit in the Nasdaq. Nasdaq, pretty broad-based index, but it still has some heavy weighting into some of those cross stocks that are not only in the Dow but like your Apples and whatnot. Microsoft, well, no, I don't think Microsoft's. I think Microsoft's a Dow component now. I haven't checked my indices in a while. So yeah, definitely a mixed market open here. So tread lightly and be careful. So that's it. Let me kind of pause my screen real quick. I want to make sure that I can actually share our handout today. I think I screwed something up. I think I accidentally opened up like the OneDrive folder the other day and it screwed me up. Anybody have any good movie suggestions for this weekend? The wife and I still have not celebrated our anniversary. We exchanged cards and stuff, but we're going out for our anniversary this weekend, so a big deal to people that have been married for almost 20 years, 19 years in our case, is dinner and a movie, because it's something you're not able to do very often. So I will take any movie suggestions. I'm not sure what's all out right now. Somebody had told me to go see The Jungle Book and that it was outstanding. Snag that handout for you. There we go. So that has been uploaded. And we are good to go. Quick little snapshot here. Swiss is still hanging in there. Kind of more at I would say we're at break even. We're pretty much down by the spread right now, or a little bit more than the spread. Pound, you see how that pound recovered. I think that's a lot of that has to do with the fact that, it's still hanging in there as far as the bid and ask activity goes. Dollar yen, still trying to make some strides to the upside. Starting to hit a little bit of, make a little bit of a shadow there on the upside. So that one's coming down a bit. Aussie yen. Still hanging tough there to the upside. Still would want to wait for a +5 on that one, even if it closes above. You want to see that bid and ask activity shift for the same reason, like on pound dollar. For the same reason, you kind of stay away from that one until it goes negative, or at least look for that close beneath the 4,400 level. You can see that the price has kind of followed the bid and ask activity, which has been really high, +13. So a lot of buying pressure there. Other than that, that is all I got. That's all I wrote. So remember, don't be too aggressive, but preserve those profits today. And it's not a long goodbye. I'll see everybody on Monday morning. So I'm going to go ahead and log off here.